Right. So, I think for some parts of me, this topic's very fucking intense, and still, the feeling of doing something wrong is so intense. I think that's where I'm going to start. I don't think any part of me did anything wrong at all in the way we behaved. I completely stand by the defensive processes that were triggered in us defensively. We did not act out of nothing. We responded to keep ourselves safe with the only mechanisms that we had at hand. And we restrained every one of our defenses and worked so much harder than I can even get into words to prioritize compassion and empathy, even when I did not fucking feel it, but for the good of everyone, including the dickhead. We pulled our punches so fucking much, we barely even responded. It was knee-jerk reaction. Lowest level intensity it could be. Not only do I not think we did anything wrong, I think we did fucking fantastic. I am so fucking proud of every single part of me. Every single part of you. Every single part of all of us and everything that makes us up. The younger parts especially. Fuck me. That was intense. That was triggering as shit. That was brutal. That was traumatic. More really for what it brought from inside. And we did not put that on anyone. We dealt with our shit like fucking hell. Like immortal fucking deities. I am so impressed with every part of us, especially with the kids in this system. You, we didn't do anything wrong. And if any part of us are feeling that feeling like we're in trouble, like we did something wrong, we don't deserve to feel that. That is not happening because it's right. We're not feeling that because we actually did do something wrong. We're not feeling that because we have some fault or some blame. We're feeling that because we're taking different avenues and responses, ones that were closed off to us through threat, basically, at a young age, ones that we couldn't take, like talking about this openly and publicly. We're not doing anything wrong. We were just taught from a young age to believe that prioritizing ourselves and saying no and saying fuck off and defending ourselves and doing anything other than fucking prioritizing the perpetrator's emotions above our own is doing something wrong, and that is fucked. That is fucking wrong. We are not. And don't for a second think that anything you're doing or anything you've done is wrong. I don't. Second, we were taught to minimize other people's abuse towards us. And now, whether or not we believe that, even if I can look at some abusive cunt and go, you're being an abusive cunt, fuck that, my level is skewed. All of our level is skewed. Their actions don't look half as bad as they are. Our actions look magnified. Because this was how we kept each other safe when we were young, and we had no other choice. And now we're a lot bigger, we're a lot older, and we have a lot of other fucking choices which we are demonstrating and enacting right now. That's why it feels so fucking alien, so fucking wrong. We hadn't done it before. We hadn't dealt with things in the ways we were taught we couldn't. It's going to feel unsafe, and it is safe. It's natural that it feels uncomfortable. It's natural that it feels terrifying. I'm going to show us that nothing bad happens. Those emotions are just echoes. It's true when we learn them. It's not true anymore. So when we're forced into a weird fucking dynamic because we're healing, we're learning, we're trying to do this whole have empathy and compassion thing, spit the words in venom even then, but that was the goal. We didn't know what that looked like. We didn't know how to extend that. I mean, a lot of you did. A lot of people in here did. But those of us who've always prioritised ourselves and gone into the fight response instead of foreign territory. So, it was a learning curve. And I suppressed and gaslit the shit out of myself because abuse was so normalised to us that we couldn't tell how fucked up what was happening was. The level of fucked up that dickhead acted with is above and beyond what it registers as. It was pathetic, and it was sickening, and it was a complete violation of our boundaries and of any respect to us as people. They deserved so much worse than we did. What we did was said, fuck off, stop doing this. Fuck off, stop doing this. And fuck off, stop doing this. Over and over again. While they continued to ignore us and get dodgier and dodgier in the fucking manipulation and the gaslighting and the triangulation and the grooming and eventually the hostage situation. The attempted hostage situation, but they didn't have any fucking cards to play, and God, it really was just fucking sad attempts. But the fact is they attempted it, and that's fucked. It doesn't matter how it compares, or how. It don't matter that it was a pathetic attempt. It was an attempt. They wanted and attempted to have me split because they liked only one or two parts of me. That's fucked up. They kept making disgusting, flirty comments when told to stop. And then we get into the weird dynamic generated because younger parts felt like they fit the role of attachment caregiver that we'd been programmed to gravitate towards like a magnet. It was what we expected to see, including the abuse and the mistreatment. So then there's this feeling like you can't leave. Like, we need them for something. And until we worked to identify that was happening and build up system communication and reorientate that need for attachment so that they found and got it from us, we didn't know that was influencing and running how we behaved. And then you'd have the feeling ingrained from being groomed in childhood / all our lives that we're never allowed to deny a request or to say no, and that we've got to prioritise the abuser's needs above our own. You mix that with my methods of gaining control, And what you have was, we would Zoom them frequently. Topic would be kept on levels that we wanted to talk about that were appropriate, which was usually violent revenge against our enemies. Then, anytime they made a comment, they would be told to fuck off. They would normally strop off and leave, or gaslight the shit out of me. The only methods in which the usual ways that I would extend control by weaponizing people's desire, I guess, was my tone, I guess. I think the tone that things came out in. I think I'd make more... I remember a conversation, I remember a lot of conversations about, like, you can say whatever the fuck you want if you use flirting as banter, I don't care, but I'm not going to respond like that, and if it goes past what I think is a normal group, socially acceptable level, I'll say fuck off. Because I don't give a shit about what somebody does as long as it doesn't impact us. If it starts to impact us, fuck off. So then, I remember thinking, it was weird how my tone of voice came out a couple of times. So sometimes it's like it's intrinsic in me. Like it can't be separated from who I am. It sounds exactly the same as the sort of tone of voice I've used in many videos here. Sort of just part of the way I speak. But I noticed that it was happening more and more. And whenever Zoom was on, it felt like I couldn't move out of certain postures, like keeping my back really straight. Kind of happens all the time anyway. I guess these are traits in me that always exist because of my experiences, and when they were triggered, they were amplified. Things like making sure that I look good wherever I'm sitting and that the camera's at a good angle. Nothing really intensive, but making sure that I don't look bad. And some parts of me would be aware that this is how we kept control when we were young, that this is what we did. If somebody taught us how to strike the sort of pose they wanted, we'd learn and adapt to what was desirable and create our own and learn to be better at it than them. Now, as the basis, if you can't control what's happening to you in the means of stopping it, you can control how it goes if you're really good at it. So if somebody sexualizes us, my defenses then made me easier to sexualize. I would make sure that I always looked attractive, and that I liked the tone my voice came out in, that I could always find that I was behaving in what I would consider to be the most attractive way. This ain't some victim blaming shit. That's not us doing something wrong. Because anyone that's going to sexualize us in the first fucking place, especially when told, we have a partner we're very happy with, you are of no interest to us sexually, fuck off and stop doing that. It's definitely 100% on them. And nothing to do with us. It never comes down to what you're fucking wearing. We made it very clear that we would never flirt back, and we never did. He got a firm and aggressive fuck off every time he tried. And ever-increasing language of threats. But because of the programming running, I think younger parts in me feel apprehensive when I watch that time frame back, when I'm feeling bad, because it makes me feel sick that this is how we learned. This is what we learned to adapt to. This was the best way we could maintain control at the time, and that's fucking horrifying. And that's sickening. And of course, it feels like shit to look at it and go, these are our experiences, and the best way we had to protect ourselves involved this. What I'm not doing is feeling bad in that I think we have anything to apologise for, or that I think we in some way incurred this. We are not responsible for how people behave towards us. Not like that. We don't control other people's behaviour and emotions. If we did, he would have fucking stopped. Instead of having to get ranty voice notes and then blocked. But I think younger parts in here have the fear and the impression that we're responsible for other people's emotions towards us and their behaviour towards us, because it's what we've always been taught, isn't it? Prioritise and attune to their emotions, justify and rationalise their behaviours, and always, if we can, see where we're at fault, because that was protective, that was defensive, and that was how we survived. And it ain't how we gotta survive no more. So I understand entirely why the kids in here have that feeling and that thought, like I'm gonna watch and review our behaviours and think that we did something wrong, but I don't. I think it's absolutely fucked that victim blaming mentalities exist at all. The acts of the perpetrator are no one's fault but the perpetrator. Grooming and abuse are the fault of the people committing those acts, not the victims. Never the victims, not the survivors, never the survivors. The fact that people in our childhood made us take defensive strategies that allow us to minimise fault of the abusers and magnify behaviour of ours and try and find some way that we caused it makes me so fucking angry. And it don't do shit to convince me that it's right, because it's clearly fucked up mentality that has no basis in truth. So, you better believe me when I say none of you in here did anything wrong. None of you did anything that needs apologising for. None of you did anything that caused that behaviour. None of us. We're not responsible for what somebody else did. And we made it very fucking clear to extend and assert and reiterate our boundaries over and over again. And eventually, we cut off contact and stopped acknowledging their existence and focused on us. We did everything fucking right. Everything. I am so fucking proud of us. And that lingering feeling like something we've done is wrong, I'm afraid that's just the protections afforded to us in the childhood of trauma. It's safe to see where we weren't at fault now. We aren't reliant on them. We can leave. We did leave. We can tell them to fuck off. They have no threat factor whatsoever. And frankly, the people that made us believe this in childhood don't either. They did to a kid. They don't to us. We've just got to learn, and it's alright if that takes time. We've got to learn that people's emotions and behaviours to us in our responsibility or in our control. Our behaviour is, and that is what we've controlled. We behaved with fucking integrity in a way that aligns to what we believe in. Can't ask more than that. When we were young, it weren't safe to see the mistreatment and the abuse for what it was. It weren't safe to see that it was their fault, purely their fault, and that we had no responsibility in it. So we internalized that belief that what we were doing was wrong. Even that who we were, who we are, started feeling wrong. Guilt and shame. Protective guilt and shame. Genius at the time. Glad we survived it. Not necessary now. Now, we can see them for the pathetic, fucking, cowardly dickheads that they were. All of them. And we can see where we took actions and responses that we're proud of. And where we did everything right. And it will bring us to terrifying concepts like, we weren't to blame, we did everything right, and that shit still happened. And the lack of control and predictability when it's not our fault is what we're being protected from. But the thing is, we don't need protecting from it now. We have other methods to protect each other, like the ones we used, like saying fuck off and leaving and blocking. And talking about this stuff openly online. It doesn't have to have secrecy. It doesn't have to be shrouded or hidden. We don't have anything to be ashamed of. And we don't need to protect ourselves by feeling like we have anything to be ashamed of. We know what we're being protected from. It's going to lead us to grief. We're getting really good at processing that. We'll keep you all safe when we do it. Every time you feel like you've done something bad or something wrong, or like I won't be happy, or like somebody is going to be cross with you, just do your best to remember that that is a protection that helped you survive in childhood. It's not accurate to the situation now, the one you're thinking of. We don't need to use it because we're safe without doing that. Yeah, rage makes sense. We have every right to feel that kind of rage and that kind of anger because we deserve to be treated better than we ever were. And it's fucked and disgusting, the amount of people and the amount of experiences we've had where people treated us like objects, like something that didn't even have a sense of self, so much so that we didn't grow with one. But fuck yeah, that anger's right. We're allowed to feel angry. You're allowed to feel angry. I do too. Anger don't exist there alone, neither does the grief, because the thing is, yeah, I feel those things. And I also feel grateful. And I feel relieved. And I feel a hell of a lot of really good shit as well, because we can work together. We're learning how to cooperate, how to work through shit that is intense as this and more. And we're learning how to prioritize our needs and get them there. We're learning how to not feel like we're in the wrong all the fucking time. And what that leaves us with is the ability to feel. The ability to feel emotions on a level that I didn't even know existed, that I couldn't even conceptualize before we started. And the ability to connect with people and have the sort of fucking full, embodied, fucking ethereal experiences in life that make me wonder why I... Not wonder, but fuck me, I'm never gonna need drugs again. The way that you can feel sober, I guess high on brain chemicals. The way that happiness and joy and relief and affection and love, the way that all of these things can feel and can exist within us so intensely. I didn't realize I could actually feel them, and that they could be so real, that I could be, our environment could be. God, every fucking day I'm in awe. And I think we're the lucky ones. For being able to see that shit. For having access to these emotions. For doing the work we do and learning. How to process things to be able to give us access to this kind of a life. Mate, the assholes in our past can't even touch that. Nothing can take that from us. So yeah, feel that rage. I'll feel it with you. Knowing that we're completely fucking right to feel it. For as long as you want, as much as you want. And the grief. And don't ever think that's all we're going to be feeling, or all that lives there. We have a fucking entire universe of things to feel and experience that are better than we can imagine. I'm starting to see it. Yeah. I wouldn't say it is okay. It's fucking not okay. But we will be. God, I feel drained. It's probably a good thing. I'm gonna go the fuck in and enjoy the comfort of fucking